YouTube? It is me, Anthony, with Unapologetic Sports. As of right now, it is September 29th. In less than 24 hours from now, the Miami Heat and Los Angeles Lakers will be playing Game 1 of the NBA Finals in the bubble in Orlando. And that was quick. Like, I can't believe how quick the bubble went. It seemed like just a while ago, just like a few days ago or like a few weeks ago, the playing games were happening, and now we're at the NBA Finals. If you would have told me months ago, like in June, when the finals really should have started, in June we knew the playoffs was gonna happen in the bubble. But like when the season ended, if you would have told me that this would be happening right now, I wouldn't have believed you. But what I really wouldn't have believed was that it would be this matchup. Not saying this matchup didn't seem possible, but like this matchup really, I didn't see this coming at all. So the NBA bubble was definitely a different viewpoint of the game of basketball, especially the NBA, because I mean, as far as I've been watching, as far as I know, it's always been in stands with fans in the arenas and everything like that. Like the Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks fought all year to get home court advantage, and that was basically wiped out because everyone's on the same playing field. It's no home court advantage, no fans, it's no travel. There's nothing in your advantage that can give you, one up on your opponent. Everyone's on the same playing field, which I think that may have really turned the page on a lot of these series. I mean, look at Milwaukee. They went down in 5 games to Miami Heat, who I honestly, you might not believe me, but I honestly predicted the Miami Heat to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, did I think they were going to beat the Celtics? No, I had the Celtics winning that in about 6 or 7 or so, and they lost in 6. And then did I see the Clippers losing to the Nuggets in the second round? Absolutely. I definitely did not see them losing in the second round to the Nuggets. I thought they were going to lose to the Lakers in about 6 or 7, mostly 7. I mean, I think that's what everyone's prediction was. But let's talk about this NBA Finals. So the Miami Heat. This is one story that a lot of people are going to remember, especially the Heat win this series and beat the Lakers for the championship. Last year, didn't even make the playoffs. They were a decent team. They just didn't make the playoffs. They didn't qualify. But they acquired Jimmy Butler in the offseason, and they moved Hassan Whiteside and made Bam Adebayo the starter. And they got Tyler Hero in the draft. They got Duncan Robinson. They got a lot of pieces and a lot of guys that, on paper, at the beginning of the season, looked like good players. But once you saw them play, you really saw that this team is really deep and it really has a lot of quality guys. They mid-season they traded for Andre Iguodala and got Jay Crowder, and that completely changed their team. Who knows if they would be in this situation? I doubt it, but who knows they would be in a situation without those two guys. Jay Crowder is a good defensive player. Andre Iguodala is a good defensive player. They're two leaders. They're two guys that have a lot of experience. And I personally think that the experience they have and the size and the depth they have is the reason they beat the Celtics. If it wasn't for that, they're a good led team and they beat the Celtics in 6 games. I personally didn't see that happening, but it is what it is. It happened. So in the regular season against the Miami Heat, the Lakers won both games. The first game they played in November, they won by 15. And the second game, they won by 3. So, I mean, just looking at the regular season stats, I mean, when a team plays each other twice, you can't really get a good sample size about how good they are against each other. The Miami Heat were 5th seed this year, so for them to be in the finals is just simply amazing. It's just good play from everybody, good coaching by Eric Spoelstra. Shout out to Eric Spoelstra. I don't think he's getting enough credit for this team being this far. Heat this postseason played the Indiana Pacers, and they beat the Pacers in 4. Now, did I see that happening in 4? No, but I didn't think it was going to be a good series. I predicted the Heat to win that series, of course. Next series, they played the Bucks. Now, like I said, I predicted them to beat the Bucks. And the fashion they did it, not at all. I did not predict that happening at all. But it is what it is. And then the Boston Celtics series, I kind of touched on it a little earlier in the video that I think the reason that they're so good is because the experience and the depth they have. And the Celtics don't have that experience. I mean, their main three guys, in my opinion, their main three guys are Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker hasn't been this far in the playoffs. He's been bounced out. He's literally been on a lottery team almost every single year. Jason Tatum, this is only his 4th year in the league. You know, he hasn't been doing anything. And Jaylen Brown, this is like his 5th year in the league. So they haven't had that playoff experience, but this is a good experience for them. But the key players for the Heat, if they want to win this series against the Lakers, Jimmy Butler, of course. You know, we saw Jimmy Butler is one of those players. You know, we call him Jimmy Buckets around here. He's one of those players that can really change a team. You know, he was in Chicago last time he played for Chicago. They made the playoffs. That was the last time they made the playoffs. He went to Minnesota. They went to the playoffs for the first time in 14 years. I think it was 14 years, over a decade. And then he goes to the Philadelphia 76ers, and they're one bounce off a rim from beating Toronto and going to the Eastern Conference Finals. You have Bam Adebayo on the team, and Bam is a great player. You know, he's a good defensive player. He's a good he has length. He's not the biggest center, but his size, he's very versatile, and he can switch on from 2 to 5, honestly, depending on who the 2 guard is. You know, of course, I don't think he'll be able to guard like a James Harden or anything like that, but, you know, against, you know, the Lakers, he can switch on a bunch of guys, and he can really help them out. Of course, one thing about the Heat is their shooters. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, they're 2 players that can really go off. And you have a lot of guys that can truly impact this team. And if the Miami Heat win this series, who knows we'll get Finals MVP. Of course, I believe it's going to be between Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, but you never really know. It could be someone else, but that's if they win the series. Now the Lakers. Of course, when you talk about the Lakers, you gotta talk about LeBron and AD. There's really not much to it other than that. One interesting thing about the Lakers is they really, ESPN, I think it was, said they had the 4th best odds to win the championship, and every team that was above them is not even in the playoffs anymore. They got eliminated. I know the Bucks and the Clippers had the highest odds, and they both got bounced in the second round. They didn't even make it to the conference finals to compete to go to the finals. So, yeah, that's a thing. You know, you got a player like LeBron James that was an MVP candidate, came in second place in MVP, and then you got Anthony Davis, who came in second place Defensive Player of the Year. Either player could have won the award. You know, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not a voter, but you know, they're 2 very, very good players, great players. You know, both of them top 5, maybe top 7. I'm gonna say top 7. I don't know exactly where I'll put AD, but you had 2 top 7 players in the league, and we have that. And, you know, you're pretty much bound to be a contender, and here they are. They're one of 2 teams that can win the championship this year. The Los Angeles Lakers this year really emphasized on defense, and I can tell you that because they hired Frank Vogel, at least when he was in the Indiana days, they were a great defensive team. You know, they had Paul George, they had Roy Hibbert, they had good defensive guys that really could impact a game of basketball, and I think that's what they really tried to do this year with this team. You know, they got a guy like Dwight Howard, who's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. You know, they got JaVale McGee, who's a great shot blocker. Avery Bradley, even though he didn't play in this bubble, you know, they acquired him because he's a great defensive player. LeBron James, who, you know, is being criticized for not playing, you know what I'm saying, the best defense, but Anthony Davis earlier this year said he really emphasized defense for LeBron. If, you know, LeBron wants to win the championship, AD wants to win the championship, they said, all right, we got to focus on defense. You know, they got a bunch of guys that can really switch on a lot of guys. Alex Caruso, great defensive player. They got a lot of guys that can really defend, and that could be a problem for the Miami Heat. I mean, they're been a problem for every team they beat. Every team they beat in the playoffs, they've beaten 5. As a Rockets fan, that series really changed once the Lakers figured this out. Not that it was hard to, it's not hard to figure the Rockets out. I mean, their system is very, very predictable, but it is what it is. For the Lakers to win this series, it really comes down to LeBron and AD playing at the level they've been playing. In Game 5 against the Nuggets, LeBron went on an absolute tear. He said, "I'm not losing this series. I'm not Kawhi. This is not the Clippers. Y'all getting out of here. Y'all not coming back from down 3-1. Get out of here." Anthony Davis has been phenomenal in the playoffs so far. There's been games where LeBron will have, I think one game he had like 15 and Anthony Davis had 30. That's acceptable when you have a player that can do that. LeBron in previous years, that's not acceptable for LeBron to put up only 15 points because he has a player like Anthony Davis. The best big man in the league, in my opinion. He can go off on any night. He's literally, I think, unguardable. I don't think any big man can stop him. You got players like Rondo, who's been a very impactful player, playoff Rondo. You got a player like Kuzma, who hasn't been playing the best, but, he can have a good night. You got Danny Green, who he's known for being a shooter. So if he could step on the biggest stage in the NBA Finals, he might be looking at, back-to-back rings for himself. I think that's going to be it for this video. The finals are tomorrow. Not sure what time this video will be up on the 30th, which is the day the finals start, but I'm going to try my best to get the video before the finals start. This has been Anthony from Unapologetic Sports. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you let me know in the comment section what you'd like to see next. Any questions, comments, concerns. I'll be trying to upload as often as I can, but for consistent basketball talk, this is your place, baby. So yeah, nice talking to you guys.